I would add that I think that knowledge is just as relevant to us here in the United Kingdom as it is anywhere else.
The royal world is in shock after a surprising secret comes to light from someone close to Princess Anne. For years, he kept quiet while watching the power struggles inside the palace. But moments ago, he revealed a dark secret about Queen Camilla that could change how the public sees her forever. What issues will this revelation bring to light? And why did it take so long for this secret to be revealed? Join us as we explore Princess Anne's husband's surprising claim about Camilla's darkest secret, the age-long rift. Princess Anne and Queen Camilla are two royal women connected by family but very different in personality. Their relationship is filled with tension and a complicated history. It has never been warm or close. Instead, it has been marked by suspicion and rivalry over the years. The conflict between Anne and Camilla didn't happen suddenly. It started decades ago with a complicated romance in the 1970s. Princess Anne and Andrew Parker Bowles were involved but couldn't marry because he was Catholic. There was genuine affection between them. When Camilla married Andrew in 1973, Anne struggled to accept seeing the woman who married her former lover at Buckingham Palace. To make matters worse, Camilla married Anne's brother Charles, 32 years later. These past events left Anne feeling bitter. Insiders say that for many years Camilla felt intimidated by Anne. Although she struggled to deal with Anne's attitude, she often ignored her. When it came time for King Charles's coronation, Camilla preferred to be called just Queen instead of the usual Queen Consort. This move upset Anne, who firmly stated that Camilla was not the Queen, but Queen Consort. As tensions grew between them, they showed politeness in public to keep up royal appearances. After ending her relationship with Andrew Parker Bowles, Princess Anne married Sir Timothy Laurence in a lovely ceremony. Sir Timothy would later uncover secrets hidden within the monarchy. But who exactly is Sir Timothy? And what secrets lie behind the palace doors? The last straw. Sir Timothy Laurence is a man who stays calm in challenging situations. He was a vice admiral in the Royal Navy before marrying Princess Anne. Since joining royal life in 1992, he has not sought attention. His primary role has been to protect and support the monarchy while avoiding palace drama. However, by 2025, Timothy was in the middle of such drama and could not ignore what he saw. For years, he silently watched Camilla's growing influence in the royal family. At first, he thought Anne's criticisms were part of her authoritarian personality. But over time, he saw a disturbing pattern. Camilla's behavior was not just annoying, it seemed deliberate, with each step taking her closer to power. Once he connected the dots, it all started to become clear. Camilla's past with Charles, including their affair that contributed to the downfall of his marriage to Diana, was hard to ignore. This affair led to scandals and ultimately to Diana's death, which was unforgettable for Anne, who valued family and duty. Anne believed Camilla was unfit for her royal role, especially after learning from Andrew that Camilla had put her own needs above those of her children and disrupted Charles and Diana's marriage. But Timothy realized this was not only about the past. As Charles's health declined, he saw a change in Camilla. She subtly shifted from being a supportive partner to speaking for Charles. She began involving herself in discussions about the Regency Act and succession planning, acting more like a monarch than a supportive consort. Camilla's unsolicited advice to William and Kate struck Timothy as presumptuous. To him, it was overstepping, while it infuriated Anne. The biggest insult was how Camilla controlled Charles's interactions with family, limiting visits and making Anne feel shut out. Timothy noted how Camilla used language to turn family members against each other. She would suggest that Anne was too busy with her interests to understand leadership. She also doubts William's modern approach, trying to undermine him in royal circles. The media coverage added to his concerns. Headlines praised Camilla's leadership while barely recognizing Anne's long service or the increasing responsibilities of William and Kate. Timothy saw this as a calculated plan by Camilla's supporters to elevate her above the rest of the family, and Anne was furious about it. Timothy felt weighed down by all of this. Each issue alone might be manageable, but together they created a sense of distrust. Then, at Royal Ascot 2025, everything came to a head. While the event appeared festive, King Charles looked pale and worn out. Timothy overheard Camilla tell an advisor, "This throne must remain in my hands forever, no matter what happens to Charles." These words shocked him. For the first time, he realized that Camilla was a direct threat to the king and the crown. Timothy understood he needed to take action quickly. He began to search for answers, wondering what he would discover and what it would mean for the monarchy's future. The double-edged sword. Many secrets remain hidden behind the bright walls of Clarence House and Buckingham Palace. But this secret was Camilla's darkest truth, and it could not stay secret for long. Sir Timothy soon realized that what he heard was not just a casual remark, but part of a planned scheme to mislead. Timothy learned about a dangerous plan to keep King Charles on the throne while allowing Camilla to control. Since Charles's illness, the monarchy and the public have worried about his health. He had only been king for 3 years when his health started to fail. After starting chemotherapy, he looked weak and tired. To the public, this seemed normal for someone who is ill. However, a much darker situation was occurring behind the scenes. Camilla was reportedly pressuring the king's doctor into a troubling agreement to reduce Charles's chemotherapy. The goal was not to kill him, but to keep him weak and dependent, making it hard for him to rule effectively. He would remain alive for appearances, but too weak to challenge Camilla's authority. This plan was shocking. Camilla allegedly told the doctor, "Keep him alive for the cameras, but weak for me. If you say anything, I'll destroy you and your family." This was not the tone of a caring wife, but of a woman focused on gaining power. The doctor felt he had no choice but to agree, faced with threats to his career and family. If interfering with the king's health helped Camilla gain control, the second part of her plan targeted Princess Anne's finances. Charles, feeling both physically and emotionally weak, was pressured by Camilla to sign power of attorney documents. On the surface, these papers seemed harmless, like routine paperwork. However, they would have illegally transferred control of Princess Anne's charitable funds and inherited assets to Camilla. For Anne, these funds were not just numbers. They represented years of loyalty and independence. They supported hospitals, community programs, and equestrian charities vital to her. By taking these funds away, Camilla was enriching herself and robbing Anne of her identity and legacy. Camilla reportedly manipulated Charles by acting like a distressed spouse. She claimed it was his duty to ensure her financial safety. With guilt weighing him down, he felt he had no choice but to give in. How did this dangerous plan come to light? It wasn't just Sir Timothy's suspicions that revealed Camilla's actions. Edward Thompson, a low-level servant at Clarence House, showed bravery. He had seen the threats and whispers about Camilla for years, but had kept silent out of fear. However, when he saw her threaten the king's doctor, he decided he could no longer stay quiet. Edward secretly recorded their conversation on his phone while hiding it in his pocket. This courageous act turned him from a silent witness into someone who could help protect the monarchy. When Sir Timothy received the video, he described it to friends as a cold punch to the heart. It became clear that Camilla's ambitions had crossed dangerous lines. For Sir Timothy, discovering the truth was a heavy burden and a mission. He could destroy the monarchy or help save it with this information. The stakes were high. This was not just about Charles's health or Anne's finances. It was about the very essence of the crown, which millions still respected. Despite the weight of this secret, Sir Timothy knew it was just the beginning. If Camilla could manipulate doctors and pressure the king, what else might she do? He decided to tell the king everything. But how would Charles react when he learned that a betrayer had been at his side all along? A broken king. When King Charles learned the truth, it hit him like a series of waves crashing over him. He felt deep sadness, not just from the betrayal, but also because it showed his ignorance. Charles had worked hard for many years to get his family, the church, and the country to accept Camilla. Despite the public's anger, he stood by her, claiming his love was strong and real. Now, to find out that the woman he had defended so fiercely was behind his downfall was almost too much to handle. Memories flooded back painfully. He thought of his late mother, Queen Elizabeth II, whose face showed disappointment whenever Camilla was mentioned. From the day he introduced Camilla at their wedding, when the Queen avoided taking pictures with them, it was clear she tolerated Camilla, but did not truly accept her. Charles believed his mother represented an older generation stuck in their ways. But now, her judgment felt like a warning he failed to see. Perhaps she always knew. Maybe she sensed that Camilla was not a true partner in love. Charles recalled the months he spent sick from chemotherapy. He remembered Camilla sitting beside him, holding his hand, and whispering comforting words. How many of those words were lies? How many of her gentle touches were fake? This realization left him feeling empty. His body was weak, but he had comforted himself by believing Camilla was loyal. In one moment, that illusion shattered. But the personal betrayal, while painful, wasn't the most challenging part for him. What troubled Charles most was how the palace would react. His children, sister, and advisors, they had all supported him. Now, because of his choices, they would face the shame of a scandal. The crown felt heavier than ever for someone who spent his life preparing to be king. For the first time, Charles doubted whether he had the strength or the right to continue. He worried about how his successor would handle this new scandal. the final verdict. Prince William reacted strongly when he saw a video showing Camilla making threats. Usually calm, his shock turned into anger as he listened to her malicious words. He felt this was not just a scandal, it was an attempt to poison his father to slowly gain power. William's anger turned into a sense of purpose. He took charge of the situation with the confidence expected of a future king. He declared that this was not just a family issue, but a serious legal matter that required quick and tough actions. With clear evidence in hand, he led the proceedings. In contrast, Princess Anne, known for her strength, broke down in tears as the details emerged. These were not tears of weakness, but deep sorrow for her brother being manipulated. She remembered their mother's wishes about financial independence and how she secured her children's assets. Seeing Camilla try to take that away was unbearable. Anne's grief turned into determination. She stood firmly with William and expressed the emotional importance of their mother's will, pointing out Camilla's illegitimate actions. During the case, the Royal Council, comprised of advisors and a few trusted people, listened silently for 3 tense hours. They debated the legal and political impact of what they had seen. Could this ever be made public? Would exposing Camilla damage the monarchy's shaky reputation? The evidence was clear, and even cautious advisors agreed that letting Camilla's actions continue could destroy Charles and the crown. One by one, doubts faded away. By the end of the discussion, everyone agreed. Camilla would lose all her duties and control over finances. All the charity funds and assets she tried to take would be returned to Princess Anne, and she and William managed them together. Camilla's role would be reduced to just a ceremonial position. She would be a queen consort in name only. The council decided one last thing. This scandal would stay secret. The monarchy's survival depended on keeping this information hidden. Admitting that the queen consort conspired against the king could raise doubts about his fitness for the role. So they agreed that the truth would remain within the palace walls. Everything was settled, except that Camilla had no idea how much her life would change. The downfall of a queen consort. When Camilla discovered her secret had been exposed, the typical reaction would be fear or regret, even if just for show. However, she responded quite differently. Instead, she erupted in fury as she paced the room like a caged beast, her hands trembling and her expression contorted with rage. Camilla had dedicated decades to positioning herself at the heart of the monarchy, and the thought of losing everything at once was incomprehensible. Out of desperation, she made a reckless decision that reflected her panic. She contacted one of her trusted aides and commanded him to eliminate Sir Timothy Laurence. She held him responsible for everything, for probing too deeply and uncovering her secrets. Yet the scheme to kill him unraveled before it could be executed. The plan was poorly orchestrated and intercepted before it could endanger Sir Timothy. After learning that the attempt had failed, she began to unravel. The palace, which had once served as her stage for manipulation, now felt like a confinement, with every glance appearing menacing. She moved nervously through the corridors, her thoughts racing with unthinkable ideas. She sought ways to regain control and silence her adversaries, but every thought circled back to one conclusion: she was defeated. Unbeknownst to her, something even worse awaited. It arrived in an ordinary envelope bearing the Royal Council's seal, signifying serious matters. With trembling hands, Camilla opened it and started to read. The contents were cold and legalistic. They declared that her powers had been revoked and her influence eradicated. She would be queen consort in name, with no actual recognition beyond a ceremonial position. As she read on, her complexion drained. Later accounts indicated how she sat silently, clutching the paper so tightly that it tore. For decades, she had battled to be acknowledged as Charles's rightful partner, believing it was her fate. Now that aspiration had vanished. The letter slipped from her fingers and fell to the ground. She remained there, staring blankly. Then she broke down in tears. She wept, not for Charles or her divided family, but for herself and the dream that had ended. That evening, when she looked at her reflection, she could hardly recognize the person staring back. She saw not a queen, but a 78-year-old woman with vacant eyes. By nightfall, her defiance had entirely dissipated, and she confined herself to her chambers, refusing to see anyone. The palace that had once been her realm now felt like a jail. Her vision of power had slipped away and turned to ashes. She was neither exiled nor subjected to public humiliation. Her punishment was far worse: to spend her days in despair, trapped within the very palace she had fiercely sought to dominate. Though her actions warranted retribution, her fate proved even more severe. She was left to live her remaining years in solitude, facing her family's disdain. Thus, Camilla's tale concluded in failure. Her lofty ambitions disintegrated, leaving only an elderly woman gazing at her reflection, questioning if she had ever truly succeeded.